So yesterday we were out here at Dallas Brown's house shooting his collection of Buicks and Buick engines and whatnot, and we were talking about his Lemons car, his Mercedes, which is getting a 350 Buick. So I was talking to Dallas this morning, and we were talking about some of the comments, and it occurred to me that a lot of our viewers don't have any idea what a Lemons car is. So if I can, let me come back up here and let Dallas explain what exactly is the Lemons, what you're building for, what the, give these guys like a whole overview.
Okay.
And introduce your team. So is it?
Well, here's Greg.
Yeah.
This is George. We're 3 of the 4 for our Lemons group. We called it 12 Corners Racing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We could have this.
This is-
we
yeah.
could have this guy stand in for your 4th.
sure, that's Brandon.
That's
We
Brandon.
should give him a beer.
Good Lemons.
But, the big thing for Lemons is all based around it being a cheap, affordable car.
This is a road racing series.
It is, and it's a nationwide road racing series, and it's there's a couple things that's misleading about it. One of them is the 24 hours.
Okay.
It's not a 24-hour race. It's actually broke up into 2 8-hour sections. I
Yeah.
believe is what we figured out.
Okay. So
Yeah.
16 hours is 24.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the new math.
I mean, it's a playoff 24 hours of Le Mans, 24 hours of Lemons,
Right.
like a lemon car.
I was hoping for the Le Mans start, but of course, that's
no,
gone.
No, that's gone.
So the 24 hours is sort of like the $500. It's not quite what it seems.
Right. Yes. The $500 is virtually. It's supposed to be what you have in the car, minus the safety equipment. And then the things that are lumped under safety are like the tires, the brakes, the roll cage, and then if you had a fuel cell, the seat belts, and then each driver themselves has to have a driving suit, helmet.
Okay. So it's a commitment to actually do one of these besides building the car itself.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually,
car. Yeah.
yeah, we
Building
sat
a
down and we
Fortuner.
looked at the rules, and it's like, oh, this is going to take a lot more money than $500. And so we kind of came up with a plan. We gave ourselves a whole year. Every person throws in about $100 a month,
Okay.
and then at the end of that year, we would have about $4,800 total that we will have to build the car, the engine, the roll cage, pay our entry fee, which is $1,430
Fairly high.
for
Yeah.
one race.
That's a nice chunk of change.
For a
Yeah.
team of 4.
And then we all have to have a membership to Lemons, which is $75 each.
No, on top.
So somebody contemplating running this series, they have their $500 car.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they've got to put a roll cage on it, an SCCA legal roll cage?
SCCA league roll cage.
Okay. Which is totally different than an NHRA roll cage.
Yeah, matter of fact, I printed out there's a simple guide. It's called How to Not Fail Lemons Tech Inspection. And they
Yeah,
give
what
you a basic example of what the roll cage consists of, which
Okay.
is, you can see, is very NASCAR road course racing type cage.
Yeah, you see it's got the sidebars like that.
2 sidebars, a halo, or a hoop, depending on how you want to
And
build
then
it.
you have your dash bars and your down bars,
Okay.
which are, like normally that's high-end drag racing stuff, but on road racing it's the standard because you could be hit by another car, right?
And do this out of mild steel or Kamali?
It can actually be made out of mild steel. What we did was we did some research on it, and S&W Race Cars makes a complete Lemons cage.
Really?
They do. It like ready to, you just get it to your house and weld it in.
Wait, see, this is a popular series.
Yeah.
How many races over the course of the year?
Oh, man.
I thought there was one a month.
Probably is. I know they're doing some digital racing. I'll see. They'll do kind of like they're doing with NASCAR. Sit at your computer or your setup and race. So I'm
Virtual
not sure
racing.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is.
I wonder what a virtual roll cage costs.
Virtually nothing.
So show us on the car itself, what has to be done on the car besides the roll cage?
Okay, and minus the roll cage, you're going to have the windows, with the exception of the windshield and the rear window, can stay in place. So all the rest of them will have to be
No
gone.
side glass got to be on.
Side glass is all out. It's got to have brake lights. It has to have an emergency shutoff switch the driver can reach from the seated position.
Okay.
But it also has to be accessible by like a corner worker or
Externally.
right, from
Okay.
the safety worker.
So maybe a method on like the outside of the roll cage.
Right,
sort of
and
thing?
many people have done it on the outside, like on the A pillar of the car.
Okay.
From there, it's it gets more like into I guess it'd be demolition derby style rules. So
Okay.
you can leave a factory style gas tank in, or you can have a complete fuel cell, but it can't be an in between fuel cell. It's either a NASCAR fuel cell
Or the stock
or
gas
the
tank.
stock tank.
Okay.
So there is no in between with your, the cheap RCI or Russell plastic one. You're probably not going to pass tech. The other things that you're looking at is the tires are limited to a tread grip of.
200, minimum 200, right? I think.
I think George is right. I think it's
Is it
400
400?
total
Oh.
max.
No,
But-
that'd be minimum. The softer. The lower the number, the softer it is.
Okay, and we were
So,
at ours
gotta
were
have kind of
what
hard.
9
But
or
these are 400 or something.
I think it was the other way around. But either way, it's you got to have tires. They don't want you having road race tires.
Yeah.
It's got to
Okay.
be a
It's
street
gotta
tire,
be a
not
street
a,
style
DOT
tire.
street tire.
Right.
not a race cop.
And what about the suspension?
Suspension, you can pretty much spend money on it, but you're limited to your $500. That goes against your budget.
Yeah.
Okay, now how do they judge that you've only got $500 on the car?
Here's where it gets interesting. Okay, we watched some of the videos, and in the rules it states specifically that you're limited to $500. Anything over that they deem is over $500, you're doing penalty laps until you add up that money.
So basically, they look at your car over and they assess approximately how much you've got into it, minus the safety equipment. And if it's more than $500, they penalize you laps.
Yeah.
And they actually call it $500 my ass.
Okay.
Apparently, it's a pretty common phrase with them, and
Yeah.
then they continue on with what he said with the penalty laps.
The best part though is when it's all said and done and they say you got 22 penalty laps, you can bribe the judge.
Yeah.
It's intended to be that way.
Oh, that's all right.
So, hey,
Well,
how about
it
10?
actually
How about-
works like real life?
Uh-huh,
right.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. I like that. So, what all have you done to this thing so far?
We've
Because
taken,
we talked about under the hood yesterday.
Right.
well, I bought the car to get the transmission and the differential for my car. I have a station wagon of this, and at that point, I want to take everything out and mess. And then we were talking. We're like, well, let's turn it into a Lemons car. So then we took out everything in this car. I mean, you can see it sitting
Yeah, it's
a
up
little
there.
bit higher than it would normally.
Well, I was playing around with this yesterday. You guys think Mercedes is heavy, right? Watch.
Yeah, and it's got an extra diff, a tire. It's got some stuff in there that we're going to use. But so we just started to take apart everything, anything that we didn't need, because obviously this is a expensive car back in this is '95. So there's all these components that with a carbureted engine, we just got rid of it.
So it's just gutted.
Right.
Yeah,
Completely
yeah.
stripped
And there was
yeah.
so much stuff on the Mercedes that was overly engineered or super redundant.
Yeah.
It had sound deadener on the inside as well as the outside of the car. We found. So there was no sound in there that's why they're so quiet. But we did start with. When we started building the car, we started with stuff that cost nothing to begin with because we're all throwing in $100 a month.
But
So we had to let that money build up. So we're like, we got to start with nothing.
were you able to sell off some of the stuff from the car to
Yeah.
offset?
Greg,
Yeah, so I'm keeping tabs of like the cost, and so we're at with what we've sold. I mean, I sold the wiring harness we got rid of all the metal was like $100 at the scrap yard. So this car is, and then I bought the transmission off the car, so that was roughly $500. So the car started at zero, then at buying a few things and selling the rest off. I'm like, we have a pretty good, and buying the motor, we got to buy our core motor from him, so we're kind of putting the prices that we think you would get for some of these items, and so we're really keeping with it. But by
That's
selling
another-
off items, we're doing a pretty good job of getting a little bit extra money to be able
Right.
to.
That's another thing too. That's kind of misleading when you say, "Oh, it's got to be $500." Well, if someone shows up and gives you a $10,000, big block Chevrolet to put in here, that you're gone.
You gotta put a value on it.
It has to be valued, and it has to be valued on what it's worth. So that's where we had to start with the basic engine. We're like, well, dang, if we need something cheap, I already got piles of Buicks.
One second, a quick look at the motor that's going in here.
Okay.
And the oil pan you guys are fabricating for this.
Yes, it's normally a rear sump engine, and we're converting it to front sump. The good thing about the Buick is the oil pump is external on the timing cover, like an AMC.
Right.
So you don't have to fight the oil pump inside the motor. So all you have is the pickup. And the Buicks are, they're actually all, the big blocks, the V6, the small block, they're all where they
Deep
just
skirt.
have a pickup tube attachment point. And it doesn't matter if it goes to the rear or the front.
Right, so all you did basically was you turned the pickup tube around and then added.
Ford pickup too.
Yep.
It's a Ford pickup tube.
Right.
On our
And
Buick
then-
motor that's going on our Mercedes.
We had to update the motor. It's literally like a 78 block, so it didn't come with a factory windage tray.
Yep.
So we had to fabricate a windage tray.
There you go.
Okay. And then, let's see, yeah. So the engine is cobbled together out of all kinds of parts that we had left over. This is a 78 block. The heads are 75. The intake manifold 71. The carburetor was a 75 I had, and they're just kind of an odd quadrijet because they have a secondary power piston.
Okay.
And people don't like them because they're not modifiable. But it works perfect for a stock engine, and that's what we got here. The pistons we bought from one of the guys on the message or on the Buick Facebook page, $25. They were about as worn out as what you're gonna find, and we reused the bearings in it, and we
Got
put
some new rings.
new rings.
And all it really has to do is last 16 hours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not
Maybe
really
subsequent
wide open
races.
throttle.
We don't know.
So, yeah.
So, and there are 4 drivers to a team? Is that how
4
it works?
to a team, and you start exceeding 4, you start have to pay extra.
$75 a person.
Okay. All right, so now somebody watching this wants to get involved.
We looked at the website is 24hourslemons.com.
That's it.
Yeah. And then basically their rules and everything that you need to get involved with is on the main page right at the top.
I guess that's about it. This is fun stuff. I wanted to do this myself. I guess when did I get probably about 10, 12 years ago?
Golly, I can't remember.
It must have been probably
Yeah.
about 10 years ago. They
Yeah,
started.
when I first got started, I wanted to build a car and I couldn't put a team together. Which is the hardest part, is the fact that you were able to wrangle these guys and our friend Lemon Man, whatever his name is.
Brandon.
The fact that you were able to wrangle these guys is really the hardest part.
Yeah.
Well, it
I
was
mean,
really George that did all of it. He just kind of came by here one day and said, "Hey, can you turn my Ford Focus into a race car?" And I was telling him, "You're doing it all backwards. You're supposed to take something that's not worth anything and make a race car and repurpose it." And then he said, "You mean like Greg's Mercedes?" And it all started right there, really.
So, well, yeah.
I see where one thing leads to another, leads to another. You have a Ford Focus race car?
No, no. That's my Ford Focus ST.
Okay.
It's my daily driver, but it's also a beater because it's 147,000 miles on
Okay.
it. I just bought it a few months ago. And,
But it's got red wheels, which is
right.
enough for me.
Well, I did that for Captain America for my son. He's big into Marvel, so.
All right,
And I do autocross, but with COVID and everything, been squashed. A
I
lot
bought
of
a
stuff's
Miata
been
to do
squashed.
motocross with.
Right, yeah. And that's kind of, I could fit my family in there and drive it to the autocross.
I could put one of my dogs in.
Right. Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for the tour, and when we end these videos, we say see you tomorrow.
All right.
Right? Okay, yeah. See you tomorrow.
See you
tomorrow.